I always thought I knew everything about my mom. She was the kind of person who told me stories of her childhood, shared advice, and made me laugh with her jokes. As a little kid, I believed she was the perfect mother, always strong, always wise, and always there when I needed her. But when I turned 15, I learned something that changed everything I thought I knew about her. It was a warm summer afternoon when it happened. I had just come home from school, my backpack hanging from my shoulder. Mom was sitting on the couch, reading a book, as usual. She looked up when I walked in, smiling warmly. "How was school today, sweetie?" she asked, her voice full of that familiar kindness. "It was okay," I replied, not thinking much of it. But something felt different. There was a strange tension in the air, a quiet unease that I couldn't explain. I noticed my mom's usual smile seemed a little forced, her eyes slightly tired. After dinner that night, when I was sitting in the living room, my mom asked if we could talk. I knew something was off. She had never asked for a serious conversation without some kind of warning. I sat down beside her, feeling nervous. "What's going on, Mom?" I asked. She took a deep breath, as if gathering the courage to say something important. "I need to tell you something, and I want you to promise me that you won't be mad or upset." I nodded, though inside, I was already growing more anxious. My mom had always been open with me, but this felt different. "Mom, you're scaring me. What is it?" She hesitated before speaking. "It's about your father, about how we met." For a moment, I thought she was going to tell me something about their relationship that I didn't know, something I might have missed as a young child. But this was something deeper, something that felt like a mystery. "You see," she continued, "your father and I didn't meet the way I told you. The story I always shared with you about how we met in a coffee shop and instantly fell in love was a lie." I blinked, confused. "What do you mean? That's how you told me it happened." Mom's face became serious. "I know, but the truth is much more complicated than that. Your father wasn't the man you think he was. He had secrets, and I had secrets too. I was hiding something important from you, and it's time I told you the truth." I could feel the weight of her words sinking in. There was a heaviness in the room that I couldn't explain. I could see my mom's hands trembling slightly, her eyes brimming with a sadness I had never seen before. "Mom, you're really scaring me," I whispered, my voice breaking. She reached out and gently took my hand. "I'm sorry, sweetheart. I never wanted to hurt you or make you feel confused. But I need to tell you about my life before I met your father. There are things you don't know, things I've kept hidden for years." I was shocked, but I didn't know what to say. What could be so terrible that she would keep it hidden from me for so long? The silence between us felt like it stretched on forever. Finally, my mom spoke again, her voice quieter this time. "When I was younger, I was in a very different place. I wasn't the person you know today. I made mistakes, big ones, and one of those mistakes was falling in love with someone who wasn't good for me." I tried to process her words. "But what does that have to do with Dad?" She sighed. "Before your father, I was involved with someone dangerous. His name was Daniel, and he was very different from the man your father turned out to be. He wasn't kind. He was manipulative and controlling, and for a long time, I didn't know how to escape him." I felt my heart race. "What do you mean? How come you never told me this before?" "I was afraid, and I was ashamed," she said softly, "afraid of what it would mean for you to know about that part of my life, afraid you would see me as weak or broken." She paused, her voice shaking as she continued. "Daniel wasn't just controlling, he was dangerous. He did things that hurt people, and I was caught in it. I tried to leave him several times, but he always found a way back into my life. It wasn't until I met your father that I was able to escape him for good. I was silent, my mind racing. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My mom, my strong, confident, loving mom, had been in such a dark place before. How could I have missed this? Why didn't you ever tell me? I asked, my voice filled with confusion and hurt. Why keep it a secret? Because I wanted you to have a better life. I wanted you to grow up feeling safe and loved, without the shadow of my past hanging over you. I thought if I told you everything, you'd be scared of me, or worse, you'd hate me for not telling you sooner. I tried to wrap my head around everything she had just said. The mom I knew, the mom who had always been my protector, had been through so much more than I could have ever imagined. But what about Dad? I asked. How did he fit into all of this? He knew nothing of Daniel, my mom explained. When I met your father, I was finally free from that life. He helped me heal in ways I never thought were possible, and I wanted to start over with him, but I didn't want to bring my past into our new life. It wasn't until recently that I realized hiding the truth from you wasn't helping anyone. I sat there in silence for a moment, my mind filled with 1,000 thoughts. I felt a mixture of emotions, shock, anger, sadness, but also a strange sense of understanding. My mom wasn't perfect, but neither was anyone. She had made mistakes, like we all do, but she had also found a way out. She had escaped a toxic relationship and built a new life for herself and for me. I'm sorry, my mom said, looking at me with tears in her eyes. I should have trusted you with the truth sooner. I never wanted you to think that I was hiding something from you. I only wanted to protect you. I looked at her, really looked at her, and realized how much strength it must have taken for her to go through everything she had and still be the loving mom I knew. She wasn't perfect, but she was real, and that made her even more incredible in my eyes. You didn't need to protect me, Mom, I said softly. I'm glad you told me. I just want to understand everything, and I want you to know that I love you, no matter what. My mom smiled through her tears, and we sat together in silence, holding hands. It wasn't the conversation I had expected, but it was one I needed to have. From that day on, I understood my mom in a way I never had before. She wasn't just the woman who took care of me. She was a woman who had fought for her life, for her happiness, and for the safety of the family she loved. And that made her more incredible than I could have ever imagined. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this story with someone who inspires you. Let's celebrate strength together.